Okay, so we are going to start with Ruby documentation 2.4.2. So this is the latest version at the point of making this video. So we have some files and we have classes, and on the right side we have some methods. So we're going to be looking at string class. We're going to be having a look at symbol class, and we're also going to look into integer for numbers, and we are going to look at a nil class, so what you return when there's nothing to return. All right, so let's start with string. So a string, you can see what it does there. It has a few methods. We'll have a look at what a method is. So it has like an empty method. You can ask how you empty, and it will give you the results. All right, so let's go into our terminal. So there's something called IRB, Interactive Ruby. We type that and enter. So we can run some Ruby code here. So I can say puts, which is to print. So it prints hello world onto the screen. So, but we're not going to use this. I'm going to create some file structures so you have something to revise with. So I'm going to make a new directory in your desktop. So if you're not on that location, do this first, cd into your desktop, and then create a new folder called Learn Ruby. Go into that folder and make another folder called Basics. All right, so within Basics, go into Basics and then touch to create a new file. So I'm going to call this file basics.rb for Ruby. Now open this up in Sublime. All right, so this is our new file, and we are going to repeat what we did in Interactive Ruby. Just say hello world. Okay. Now to run this, you save this, go back into your terminal. All right, to make sure you can see basics.rb, and just simply type ruby basics.rb and it runs. All right, so this is how we're going to run our codes from now on. So you can do command / to comment this line out. So when we run it, nothing gets shown. So anything commented out is not run. Okay, so we say puts class. So this is we're sending a message to this single quotation to say what class do you belong to, who owns you. So it says it's a type of string. All right. So Ruby understood that, and the same thing applies for double quotation. So singular, double quotation will give you the same string. All right, we'll learn the difference in coming lessons between single and double quotations. Now let's see, if we say puts hello world, we can call a method general substitution. We're saying basically substitute hello for my. So this will read my world. All right, so that's how you can call methods on strings. All right, so this is basically substituted hello for my. We can comment this out and we can say this is my string, and we can call a different type of method. So we're checking if this includes the word string. All right, so let's have a look. It returns true or false. In this case, it's true. And we can try another thing. We'll say split. So this is basically we're saying split this where there are empty spaces. Right, so when we split that, it will give us 4 different things. So we have in that order. All right. Now the interesting thing is if we say size, right? Because it's split, it will give us 4. All right, so that's a few things that's happened here, which I will explain. If we take this, comment this out, and then remove split, and we'll check the size. Now let's see what we get. So now we get 17, which is completely different from original. Now this is because now it's counting every single character, including spaces, because we're calling this on a string object. If we check the class, what we'll get is integer, because the final result is a number, 17, which is a type integer. Now, if I did this, of course, we'll get type of string, okay? So by calling a method split, what was returned was in fact an array, okay? So it's a different type of object altogether. So the method we call on what's on the left can change. The result of what's returned can completely change. All right, so let's give this a title, string, and then let's have a look at a different type of objects, symbols. Now, a symbol is very, very similar to a string, but this is how you write a symbol with a colon in front. So when I run this, it just says hello, just as if we printed a string hello to the screen. And also, we can do this. So even though it has a single quotation or double quotation, as long as it has the colon in front, it's still a symbol. Now, how do we know that this is a symbol? Well, we can check the classes of this. Let me comment this out first, and we can say puts.class. Okay, and this will of course tell us the class, which is a type of symbol. Okay, so symbol is just a different way of using a string, but it has some advantages. Let's see, if we have hello, if we have world two times, we can check the object ID. Okay, so this is the ID that is used to store this word string in memory. Now, if I do the same with a symbol, okay, let's have a look and see what the difference is. So we can see that the numbers are different, the IDs are different for the two strings, even though it says exactly the same words in our world, but for symbol, it's exactly the same. So what's happening in memory is when we create word, it creates word two times in memory. But when we use symbol, it basically says the first time it creates it, the second time it references the first creation. So it's more efficient when it comes to memory usage. So that's one of the main differences between a string and a symbol. Now let's have a look at integer. So integer is something that we use every day, calculators, money, and so on. So we're very familiar with integers. So if I have a look at the class integer, all right, so we can see there are some methods. We could check if it's an even number, we could check if it's an odd integer, and there's some other methods there. All right, so let's have a play with this. So we could say 5, and we could check what the class of 5 is. Now, Ruby would automatically know that this is a type of integer, right? Right, so we can also check if we put quotations around it, is it still a number? Nope. It is now a type of string. Right, so now let's command / comment this out, and then let's call a different method. So we could check if 5 is an odd number. And when we check that, it says true. And if we can check if 4 is an odd number. It checks that, it says it's false, it's not an odd number. So these are all methods that we can call on integer. And the way we call them, of course, is just period and then the method name. So there are some other methods. We have a plus, so you can add things up. So what we could do is say puts 5 plus 5, uncomment that, and then we can run it and it gives us 10. So 5 is a different number, plus is a different method that you can call on it. Okay, so now let's have a look at Nil class. So nil is something that you return when there is nothing to return. So we can check the class of nil, and we can see that is called Nil class. When we get to working on Ruby on Rails, we are going to see lots of errors with Nil class on it. So this is a Nil class, and these are some of the methods that it has. Okay, so it's a class of a singleton, which we'll cover much later on. All right, so let's say puts hello, and then we can check the index of E. So the index starts from 0. So H is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So E should be 1. So when we do this, it says 1, which is correct. Okay, but let's comment that out. What happens if we search for something that does not exist at all? So you can see nothing is returned, right? Now, for us to tell what type is returned, we could check the class. We could see what was returned was a Nil class, okay? Because it did not find what it was looking for. So Nil class is something that you return or that is automatically returned when there's nothing found. And of course, if we check the class now, it's a type of integer, okay, which is it returns 1, 2, and we can see here the class is nil. All right, so this will be covered a lot more when we get to working with a framework. Now let's have a look at type conversion. So we could change from one type to the other. So we could change hello, which is a string at the moment, to a symbol. All right, so it doesn't print out the actual symbol, but we can check the class of what was returned by typing class at the end. So that's a symbol. Okay, so we can, of course, if we go back a step and double check, it was originally a string. All right. Right, so this is how type conversion works. Each object type you can convert, or the ones that are convertible. So we have a string, we could convert that to an integer. If we check the class, it will tell us that it's a type integer. All right. And of course, if we remove our conversion and checked, it is a type of string. All right, so this is how conversion works. We can also change 5 to a float. And if we change this, it's 5.0. Okay. Right, so let's have a look at the documentation. We could check a string. And down here we can see all the different methods, but here we can see the different conversion types. So you can convert it to different things. And the same for symbol, we can see down here that you can convert it to different things, strings and sims and procs. All right, now we have learned the basics of how of Ruby stuff. We're going to be using some of these basics in creating some really cool things in coming tutorials. Just to further illustrate nil, if I try to call the method count on nil, which does not exist, we are going to see this error message. So this is a message that we are going to see a lot when we make a mistake. Alright guys, that's it for this lesson. I'll see you in the next tutorial.